Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Richard Cruz, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Squadron Leader Guri Singh. We warmly welcome the family of Private Maurice John Purcell, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. I invite you all to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. If you're able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Maurice John Purcell. Maurice Purcell was born about 1898 to a large family of John and Bridget Purcell of Melbourne. Known by the nickname Monty, Purcell attended the Christian Brothers School at Abbotsford and was a member of the Cadets. Purcell enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in Melbourne in March 1915. According to family accounts, despite claiming to be 18 years old, Purcell was only 16 when he enlisted and obtained written permission from his father, who believed that his son would simply run away and join otherwise. Purcell was allocated to the 1st Reinforcements to 23rd Battalion and began initial training at Broadmeadows. In May 1915, the battalion embarked upon the troop ship Euripides, bound for Egypt. After further training, the 23rd Battalion was committed to the Gallipoli campaign in September 1915 and was soon manning one of the most trying parts of the Anzac front line, the Lone Pine. Lone Pine, where fighting was so dangerous and exhausting that battalions were relieved every day. The 23rd Battalion manned Lone Pine, alternating with the 24th Battalion until leaving Gallipoli in December 1915. Following the withdrawal from Gallipoli, the AIF went through a period of reorganization and expansion in Egypt. On the 18th of March 1916, while the 23rd Battalion was at Mosca camp in Egypt, Purcell was posted as a deserter and awarded 28 days field punishment number 2. Punished as a fever under a sentence of imprisonment with hard labor. Disciplinary issues continued to follow Purcell throughout the year, and he continued to gain further field punishment and forfeit pay. The next destination for the 23rd Battalion was the Western Front. First arriving in France in March on the 10th of April 1916, it occupied forward trenches of Armentières sector in northern France. This relatively gentle introduction to the Western Front was followed in July by the horrific battles of Pozières and Mouquet-Farm, after which it was estimated that the battalion lost almost 90% of its members. The next trial came at the Second Battle of Boleco in May. While the 23rd Battalion succeeded in capturing all of its objectives and holding them until relieved, it was subjected to heavy counterattacks. The first day of this battle was the battalion's single most costly of the war. After this, the battalion was withdrawn from the front line. By November 1916, the conditions on the Western Front had started to take their toll on Purcell, who was admitted to hospital with trench feet caused by prolonged exposure to cold, wet, unsanitary conditions. He was back with his unit in late December, but in March the next year he suffered from influenza, and in June was troubled by an abscess on his jaw. In early September 1917, the 23rd Battalion moved into positions around Ypres in Belgium. On the night of the 21st of September, the battalion was making its way to the front line to relieve 2 other battalions when it encountered enemy artillery fire, which caused 13 casualties. Among the dead was Private Maurice John Purcell. He was buried in the Hooge Crater Cemetery, 4 kilometers east of Ypres, where he lies today under the epitaph chosen by his mother, "Sacred Heart of Jesus, have mercy on his soul." His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among more than 60,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photo is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Maurice John Purcell, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
As we that are left grow old, age shall not bury them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.